everybody. I'm Dr. Roseann, and this is It's Going to Be Okay. And we are going to be talking about, have you tried everything for your kid and you feel like you're just not getting anywhere? So, every day people call me from all over the world. Today was International Day, actually. Anybody who contacted us was from another country. And while I always say it's exciting that I get to work with people who really want to work with me, it's also frustrating because I know that there's not appropriate care. There's not integrative care that leads to solutions that are really science backed. And that's what all of my work is about. So if you are somebody that's tried a lot, maybe you haven't done anything, maybe you're immobilized. I see a lot of people sort of immobilized and are looking for some kind of a path but a guarantee. And I can promise everybody that when they actually consistently use these methods and techniques, you will get better. We don't know what degree that the brain gets better, but I'm here talking about what works, what doesn't, and that path. So let's jump in. So if you are new to me and you are looking for support, whether it's what's the right, resource that I have, from books to really cool courses, we have our parent kits, we have lots of things going on to support people, or you're looking for one-to-one help, take our solution matcher. It's going to guide you to exactly what you need. And you go to drroseann.com/help, and you'll get really awesome emails that are chock full of information. So, everything we do is about giving people accurate information. I'm a huge fan of Google. But I want you to have proper guidance by somebody who knows what they're doing. And that's me. So let's talk about the journey of looking for the right help, right? So everybody who knows me knows I'm a mom of two neurodivergence and a kid with PANS. And, the journey isn't easy, right? And I think it gets harder because people aren't trusting their gut, right? And when you get really anxious, it's confusing about what the right path is. And this is something that I have seen just increase, not in a good way, during this pandemic. I think we're all struggling with so much fear. I was talking to a mom yesterday and we were talking about, why do I think things are so difficult? Why is everybody struggling with anxiety? Why is everybody having such a hard time? And, they brought up a really good point that I hadn't thought about. Truthfully, just the climate of the world beyond the pandemic, that, we're constantly, faced with a possibility of war and, economy and having elderly presidents. Let's not get political. And there's a lot going on in the world. And so every time our anxiety builds and we have that uncomfortableness, because whether it's your child or you, anxiety and stress is going to show up in some physical way. And so sometimes when we have to listen to our gut, it feels clouded. Right. And I know that when you ground yourself, when you listen, and hopefully you're all, spiritual, religious in some way, shape, or form, the guidance is there. And most people aren't making those choices based on what they feel their gut is telling them. They're making choices based on fear, right? Oh, I'm so worried my kid's going to be living in the basement. Oh, there's got to be, my doctor says I must try this medication or my kid's going to have X, Y, and Z. And they're not listening to their guts. And, whenever I get clients who do really well, and everyone always wants me to tell them, like, what's the magic juju? And I say it all the time. So it's people that, embrace holistic. Maybe they're even new to it, but they're realizing the power of it, right? They're willing to do the work. There's a sense of spirituality, and they really appreciate micro, right? Because I think in our American culture, but also across the world, it's happening more and more. We only define success based on getting to the top of the mountain. We don't even look at the journey and all the hurdles and the beautiful mess that comes along with it. And I'm not saying that as a Pan's mom, that anybody wants that journey, but there actually have been some wins along the way. So let's talk about how, if you're feeling like you've tried everything, what are your steps? What should you do? Right. So number one is trusting that gut, but also you got to get to root causes. So Root causes does not mean the exact diagnosis. So we think a lot of times that there is some diagnosis. Oh, my kid has disruptive mood disorder. My kid has, absolutely has pants. Yes, it's important to know what's going on, but root causes is a whole other level of that, right? I was talking to one of my PANS moms yesterday and I said, "Are you doing genetic testing?" And she said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. My, doctor's doing it." I was like, what is it? Like, what genetic testing? Are we going to look at genetic testing that's going to look at the food sensitivities, right, based on a genetic variant profile and the, what supplements they need and they don't? She's like, I don't know. And I said, well, that's what I'm going to recommend. And even if you've already had it, there's other sites you can run it through. And I was explaining to her that these are all pieces to the puzzle. Like, it's never one piece in the puzzle. So root causes can be anything from what are exacerbators, right? What are behavioral triggers? Um, maybe what somebody in the home isn't co-regulating and it's feeding into that. I see that every day, just so you know. And even in the most loving homes, it happens. What if there is some type of nutrient deficiency driving things? I see that every day. So let's think about things in a more broad spectrum. These are what functional providers do. This is what I do. This is what, a naturopath, a functional doctor will do. You're not going to get this from a pediatrician. You're just not. They are a generalist, as they should be, because they're seeing a variety of things and they do beautiful work, but it's not going to be deep work. So we have to go in, right? So the other main thing that I see happening with people when you feel like you've tried everything and nothing is working, right? Timing and order, keys to success. So sometimes we rush to do things out of order, right? So sometimes, we particularly when a child is, very distressed or, and just know that a lot of times, these things creep up. If it's anxiety, even pans can really creep up, and you look back and it makes sense, right? But we don't have that privilege when we're in it. So when we are seeing a kid in high distress, trust me, unless it's really an overnight sudden onset, there has been a long buildup. And when there's a long buildup, know there's a behavioral habituation in the brain. Maybe it's avoidance. Maybe it's low motivation. Maybe it's big reactions, right? These are all part of that under and overstimulated brain. But on top of it, we develop these behavioral responses. So sometimes we try, let's say, psychotherapy in the middle of when somebody is in a flare or highly distressed. It's not going to work. Why? Because it's not, their brain is not readily available. Does it mean it will never work? Absolutely not. What it means is we have to be more strategic in when we do things, right? We also have to stick with things. I recently worked with somebody who, goes to good providers, but goes to a lot of providers and doesn't ever really stick with things because, again, they're looking for the getting to the top of the summit without really going to the base camps. They want to take a helicopter up there. When you want to get to the when you get there, let me know because I want to know what it is. So, yes. So somebody said to me, by the way, I like that you say root cause is plural. Our kids have many layers. Amen, my friend. Everyone always is like, "Oh," like my pandas folks come in and say, "Oh, it's just strep." And I was like, "It's not gonna just be strep. I've known one person where it's just strep. You're gonna be pans. There's gonna be a lot of people at this party, and we don't want them there. So let's get them out." So lots of layers. It's layers of behavior, layers of things that go on, right? So for sure, there are many things that happen within the body. So let's talk a little bit about natural solutions and their effectiveness. Obviously, I've spent, 3 decades helping people with only natural solutions. Psychiatric medications are absolutely overprescribed and they become the first line defense. They should never be the first line defense in a developing brain. And I don't think anybody can argue with that, right? So all I'm saying is let's not use them first. Let's go to what science shows us works, right? So parenting, behavior. I actually wrote my doctorate on parenting. And I did parenting in people's homes. I taught them how to parent. And it was so dramatic, the improvement in kids' behaviors, because who knows how to parent? So and again, you never take offense to it. It's sort of like you're an athlete, right? All those guys that went to the Super Bowl, they're all coached people. You don't just become an athlete, you get mentoring, right? And wouldn't it be awesome if we all got mentoring? Like, "Oh, you're getting a kid. Okay, in order to get sign up for a baby registry, we have to do parenting work with you." That's just not what happens. So, we need to look at what are the most effective things. So, parenting, support because you're doing the heavy lifting, absolutely. How do you address those behaviors? Behavioral support, we know supplements work, we know nutrition works. Nutrition can work very quickly, so can supplements. But you can't just randomly take things. You've got to work with a provider, you've got to know what's going on. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some, real success stories, because we are always talking about the struggle, and it's important to talk about the struggle so you can hear, wait, maybe that's me. So many people, I recently had somebody come to me because they were like, I listened to your Pan series. So wait, to my heart, you know who you are because I know you're listening. I listened to your Pan series and I knew you knew what you were talking about because I've been going to an expert and they don't know what they're talking about. And in all fairness, they were going to a really traditional expert doing good work in a very traditional sense, but these were people that are already holistic. And so it didn't fit with them, right? So of course they're going to work with me. I'm really excited. I love those kind of people. So and again, I work with everybody. I don't care how complex the problem is, but I don't work with rude people. So if you identify as rude, please don't call. You'll be screened out. True story. Anybody who knows me. So complexity deserves a lot of wraparound support. And so when most people come to me, they traditionally are complex, right? And when I think about some of my success cases, right, and it's making me think of a young woman that I worked with who really had a lot of anxiety, super successful in school, holding it together up until about middle school. And what started to happen is we started to see all of these sort of like worried statements like, am I going to do okay on this? Is this all right? And then really starting to see an excessive amount of time, needing extra time. And so they quickly started to think maybe this girl has a focus problem. Nobody ever really thought it was anxiety, right? So time went on, time went on. By the time I get her, she's in high school and she's able to basically, spill the beans and articulate and understand what anxiety is. And so this had clearly gone on for a very long time, really started in late elementary school. She reports feeling very anxious as long as she can remember, right? She says she started feeling anxious the moment she entered, like kindergarten, first grade is about when she started. She remembers preschool being very happy. She went to a play-based preschool. And so by the time she gets to me, they've tried a lot of things. They've tried medications. They've actually tried supplements. They, like, well, we tried gluten free, we tried healthier eating. When we sort of unpack those things, gluten free wasn't really gluten free, it was gluten light. So they never had done certain things. Even though, and I bring this up because an anti inflammatory diet is one of the most evidence based approaches to mental health. This person showed in some lab work that she was sensitive to gluten, right? So they just figured have it in moderation. Doesn't work that way, right? Like people have a peanut allergy that's anaphylactic, can't have it in moderation. So if you're showing a sensitivity and allergy, you need to take it out. So by the time she gets to me, there's all this path of different things, at least five psychotherapists. And the beginning psychotherapist never saw it as anxiety. They really only saw it as a focus problem. So all this effort was put into focus, then anxiety, and then a lot of avoidant behaviors that everybody was sort of accommodating. So once they got to me and we wind up doing QEG brain map, one, lots of psychoeducation. Like it's so empowering for a family and a young person to see their brain, understand what's happening. And everyone always says, like, oh, is the kid gonna feel bad about it? No, they already know what's going on. And what's different is I talk about what the solutions are. And I also lay out the journey, I lay out the path. There is no quick fix. It's a matter of shifting what you're doing from, I always say, working harder to working smarter. And within a short amount of time, she was really able to self regulate within weeks. And that had never, ever happened. And in fact, she was so regulated so quickly that they were concerned that, "What's going on? Is this normal?" And I was like, "It's not as typical, but when you've had anxiety this long, when you get relief, it's quite visible when somebody is anxious and they come down for it." And, again, this is a pleasant kid, largely successful with a lot of duct tape around. And we were able to get to all these different components, right? So there was a sensitivity. We altered the diet. We looked at what nutrients can help support the neurotransmitters. Her gut had broken down. We could see that on a brain map based on brain patterning. So we built up her gut. And of course, she did some neurofeedback with some PEMF. And once she was regulated, she did counseling. So it wasn't a quick fix. And we were able to get to the other side of it. And she went off. She's been great, wonderful college student, has kept in touch with me through social media. So I think that is amazing, result. And that's pretty typical. They were very open, they were put their cards on the table, and they were willing to do the work. Everyone is working, and they feel like when they enter into these types of natural solutions, there's a misnomer that somehow there's really going to be a pill that's going to fix it. It's going to be a supplement, neurofeedback on its own, whatever it is. It's a combination of regulating that nervous system with new skills and then layering in those different pieces. So I always say, instead of feeling overwhelmed that there's layers, you should be excited that there's opportunities for change. Isn't that a great thing? Somebody says, I welcome parenting my neurodivergent child. I have another neurotypical, and it's been much easier. So, you know, Pan's parenting is not easy. Please listen to the whole series on that. And also, particularly, is it a flare? Is it Pan's? But if you've tried a lot, go back to those basics. Think about what those root causes are. Think about trusting your gut. I honestly feel this is the greatest blocker. I have people that have every ability to work with me who don't trust their gut and then look for some type of you know, something that's going to guarantee it, right? But they haven't taken the path. They haven't really found the right path. And I get that. But you have to look at that. How am I addressing those layers? Is it the right order? And do I have the right guide? And I think that's incredibly important in this process and helping you to understand that's how things change. So, and we all have our different kinds of kids. So we have 5 clinical parent kits that are all designed. They were designed specifically for what you told me you wanted. So, what is the problem? How does it affect them? What are all the parts? And what solutions help? And we made these unbelievable digestible parent kits. I don't know if anybody's here and already has one. And you can go to drroseann.com/parent kit. And so grab it when you can. It will be in the notes as well. So wherever you are in your journey is exactly where you need to be. Just know the path isn't easy, but you have the power. You really do. And identifying those root causes and strategically addressing them. That's what I do in our one-to-one program. You can go to drroseann.com/help if you're looking for more solutions and guidance onto what the right one is for you.